10 minutes, a deep dive into a book. Today, we're reading Spark, The Revolutionary New Science of Exercise and the Brain by American neuropsychiatrists John Ratey and Eric Hagerman. This book uses a wealth of scientific research to prove that exercise not only shapes the body, but also rewires the brain. Have you ever wondered why some people always feel like their brains just aren't up to the task? The answer lies deep within our brains, and exercise is the golden key that unlocks this secret treasure. Part 1. Exercise is the brain's natural stimulant. The book opens with a truly astonishing story. At Naperville Central High School in Illinois, USA, students start their day with high-intensity physical exercise at 7 o'clock every morning. This seemingly ordinary practice has created an educational miracle. The students at this school have achieved remarkable results in international math and science assessment tests. Their math scores rank 6th in the world, and their science scores are number 1, while the average ranking for American students is only 19th in math and 18th in science. What secret lies behind these astonishing achievements? The answer is exercise. Physical education teacher Phil Lawler designed a revolutionary PE curriculum. He no longer focused on competition as the goal, but instead aimed for every student to reach 80% to 90% of their maximum heart rate. The students wore heart rate monitors to ensure their exercise intensity was optimal, and the results were astonishing. Not only did their physical fitness improve, their academic performance also improved significantly. Scientists discovered that exercise can stimulate the brain to secrete a protein known as brain fertilizer. It's called brain-derived neurotrophic factor. This neurotrophic factor acts like a vitamin for the brain, promoting the growth of neurons, strengthening neural connections, and enhancing learning ability and memory. Research from the University of California, Los Angeles shows that just 2 weeks of regular exercise can already the level of brain-derived neurotrophic factor increase 2 to 3 times. What's even more surprising is that during exercise, the brain releases a variety of neurotransmitters, including dopamine, norepinephrine, and serotonin. These chemicals are known as the brain's happy cocktail. Not only do they make us feel good, but they also improve our ability to concentrate and enhance cognitive function. Just 20 minutes of moderate intensity exercise can boost a person's attention by 20%, and the effect can last for 2 to 3 hours. Exercise significantly impacts brain blood vessels. During exercise, heart rate increases and circulation improves, boosting blood flow to the brain by 25% to 30%. This means the brain gets more oxygen and nutrients. Simultaneously, exercise promotes new blood vessel formation in the cardiovascular system. This process is called angiogenesis. A brain with more blood vessels is like a city with more highways. Information is transmitted faster and more efficiently. Now, for the second part, how exercise reshapes our ability to learn. When exploring the relationship between exercise and learning, the author reveals a groundbreaking perspective. Our brains have evolved over millions of years. They are essentially designed for movement. Early humans had to hunt while running, forage while walking, and survive through physical activity. That's why our brains perform at their best only when we're in motion. The impact of exercise on memory is truly astonishing. Research from Columbia University shows that exercising immediately after learning new information can extend memory retention by 20%. Part 4. The miracle of exercise in delaying brain aging. As we age, our brains gradually shrink. Cognitive abilities decline, which seems to be an inevitable law of nature. But the author tells us that exercise can reverse this process and keep our brains youthful and vibrant. The book describes a study conducted on people over the age of 65. Researchers divided the participants into 2 groups. One group did aerobic exercise training, while the other group did stretching exercises. After 6 months, the volume of the prefrontal cortex and temporal cortex in the aerobic exercise group increased significantly. The stretching group, on the other hand, showed no change. Even more surprising, the aerobic exercise group improved their performance on cognitive tests by 15%, which is equivalent to becoming 2 years younger. Alzheimer's disease is one of the most feared illnesses among the elderly. But exercise gives us hope for prevention. Studies have found that people who exercise regularly have a 50% lower risk of developing Alzheimer's disease. This is because exercise can clear beta-amyloid plaques from the brain, which are a major pathological feature of Alzheimer's disease. Exercise acts like a janitor for the brain, regularly cleaning out harmful substances and keeping the brain's environment clean. A study from Germany found that after running, marathon runners had a 300% increase in endogenous endorphin levels in their brains. This explains why so many runners get addicted to running. What they seek is not just physical health, but also that indescribable sense of mental pleasure. Exercise is also remarkably effective at relieving anxiety. Studies have shown that just 5 minutes of exercise can significantly reduce anxiety levels, and 30 minutes of aerobic exercise can keep anxiety at bay for up to 4 hours. This is because exercise lowers the levels of stress hormones like cortisol, while increasing the secretion of GABA, a natural tranquilizer. The book describes a college student named Tom who suffers from severe social anxiety. He doesn't dare speak in public, and he is even afraid to eat in the cafeteria. The psychologist suggested that he try swimming. At first, Tom was very resistant, but with his friend's company, he started attending swimming classes. 6 months later, not only was Tom able to speak up in class, he even took the initiative to participate in the school's speech contest. He said, "Being surrounded by water makes me feel safe, and the sense of calm I feel after swimming helped me regain my confidence." The book also mentions the phenomenon known as runner's high. For a long time, people believed that this sense of euphoria came from the release of endorphins. But the latest research has found that the real hero is a substance called endogenous morphine, which can cross the blood-brain barrier and act directly on the brain's reward system, producing a strong sense of pleasure and happiness. The reason exercise can treat depression is that it helps regulate the balance of neurotransmitters in the brain. People with depression often have low levels of serotonin, dopamine, and norepinephrine. And exercise happens to boost the secretion of these happiness hormones. Interestingly, the way exercise regulates these neurotransmitters is exactly the same as the mechanism of many antidepressant medications, but without any side effects. The doctor advised him to do 30 minutes of aerobic exercise every day. 3 months later, Keith's attention span increased from 5 minutes to 20 minutes, and his math grades improved by 2 levels. Scans showed that the activity in his prefrontal cortex had significantly increased. This is precisely the key area responsible for controlling attention and impulsive behavior. Part 3. Exercise is the best antidepressant. When discussing the relationship between exercise and mood, the author shares with us a touching story about a movie star named Sarah. She suffered from depression for a long time and tried various medications, but none had noticeable effect. In desperation, she started running. At first, she could run for a few minutes, but she stuck with it. 3 months later, her depressive symptoms disappeared, and she was a new person. This is not an isolated case. Duke University conducted a large-scale study, dividing 156 patients with depression into 3 groups. 1 group took antidepressant medication, 1 group did aerobic exercise, and 1 group both took medication and exercised. After 16 weeks, the treatment effects among the 3 groups were almost identical. Even more surprising, in the 6-month follow-up, the relapse rate was lowest in the exercise group, at only 8%, while the relapse rate in the medication group was as high as 38%. This is because exercise promotes the synthesis of proteins that are necessary for the formation of long-term memory. In other words, exercise acts like a protective layer for our memory, allowing knowledge to be stored in the brain for longer and more securely. A large-scale longitudinal study was conducted in Finland, involving 20,000 pairs of twins. The research found that even when their genes were exactly the same, the twin who exercised regularly always performed better on cognitive tests than their sibling who did not exercise. This study completely ruled out the influence of genetic factors, proving the direct effect of exercise on brain function. The book mentions an astonishing statistic. People who exercise have a hippocampus that is 2% larger in volume than those who do not exercise. The hippocampus is a key region responsible for learning and memory. An increase in its size means a significant improvement in learning ability and memory. This explains why people who stick to regular exercise often have higher learning efficiency, better memory, and why children with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder have shown clear improvement through exercise. The book mentions this. An 8-year-old boy named Keith couldn't concentrate in class and his grades were poor. The book also mentions an 80-year-old man named Jack, who started running every day at the age of 60. Doctors found that the structure and function of his brain were comparable to those of a 40-year-old. His memory, reaction speed, and learning ability all remained at a youthful level. Jack said, "My peers are all worried about Alzheimer's, while I'm still learning new languages. I believe that as long as my legs can keep running, my brain will never grow old." Exercise can also enhance the brain's plasticity and its ability to reorganize and adapt, even in people in their 70s and 80s. Regular exercise can also promote the growth of new neurons in the brain and establish new neural connections. This means that as long as we are willing to exercise, our brains will always have the potential to learn and change. The author shares an inspiring idea in the book: our genes are not the ultimate deciders of our fate. Even people who carry the Alzheimer's susceptibility gene, APOE4, can greatly reduce their risk of developing the disease through exercise. Research shows that those with the gene who exercise regularly have a risk comparable to ordinary people without the gene. This shows that the power of lifestyle is far greater than we imagine. Exercise is especially effective at improving executive function. Executive function includes attention control, working memory, and cognitive flexibility. These are all fundamental to higher-level cognitive abilities. A study from the University of Illinois found that older adults who exercise regularly perform better on executive function tests than younger people who do not exercise. This means that through exercise, we can not only slow down aging, but even reverse the decline of certain cognitive abilities. A long-term follow-up study in Sweden is even more astonishing. Researchers tracked 44,000 women for 37 years and found that those with the best physical fitness in middle age had an 88% lower risk of developing dementia compared to those with the poorest fitness. This means that every workout we do now is an investment in our brain health decades down the line. To end today's reading, I'd like to share a quote from the book: "Exercise is not just about fitness, it's a philosophy of life, a wisdom that keeps both the mind and body young."